How's it going, YouTubes? Welcome to the channel. Today, I wanted to make a quick video on Forza Horizon 5 and how it performs on the most common next-gen graphics card out there. Of course, by next-gen, I mean ray tracing. A quick look at Steam's hardware surveys show that the most common card capable of ray tracing is the RTX2060. This card launched in January of 2019 and is considered to be the weakest next-gen card available for desktop. I also happen to own one. Being the most entry-level card with all the modern features, I like to call it the Xbox Series S of desktop gaming. I tested it in the two most common resolutions out there, 1080p and 1440p. I just used the in-game benchmark, which is pretty accurate to real gameplay in my experience, in order to find out where the sweet spot for 60 frames per second gameplay is. All tests were done using a 5600X for the processor and recorded using NVIDIA's Shadowplay. First up, we have high settings at 1080p and 1440p respectively. At 1080p, we have an average of 108 frames per second, with the lowest dip being at 93 frames per second. At 1440p, we have about a 20% drop in performance, leaving us at an average of 87 frames per second, with the lowest dip at 76 frames per second. The RTX 2060 easily delivers a locked 60 frames per second experience at high settings. However, I feel there is a noticeable difference in fidelity going from high to ultra, so on to ultra it is. On ultra 1080p, we get 80 frames per second with the lowest dip at 69 frames per second, easily making the cut. However, at 1440p, we get an average of 65 frames per second with a low of 58 frames per second. More importantly, the frames per second frequently drop to this 58 frames per second. This is a non-issue if you have a variable refresh rate monitor. However, this could be a major issue in regards to smoothness if you don't. Here's where I get to my suggested settings. At 1080p, I suggest Ultra. I also suggest Ultra at 1440p if you have VRR. If not, I suggest using the high preset as well as turning night shadows to on, SSAO to high, and world card detail to ultra, as these three things make a dramatic difference while keeping the lowest FPS dips just above 60 FPS. But what about ray tracing? After all, we are covering a ray tracing card. This one is easy. Ray tracing is an excellent addition at medium, but with 60 frames per second as the target and the fact that it only shows up in Forza Vista, high is the only way to go. It looks absolutely stunning in the right situations, and it won't dip below 60. The only reason some of my ray tracing footage is dipping below 60 is because I happen to be playing a YouTube video on my second screen while recording, which is never good for performance. That being said, let's take a quick look at extreme. As long as you're not multitasking, as I usually am, it's a solid console-like 30 frames per second experience despite going over VRAM limitations. You can always set texture detail and other memory intense settings down a notch if this is what you're going for as you browse the web on your second screen. However, me personally, I just stick to Ultra. Thanks for watching today. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. If not, hit the dislike button. If you're new to the channel, please hit subscribe, and see you next time. Peace.